All right, welcome back to VAWA's Quarantine Conversations with Virginia College Coaches. We're fortunate today to have the leader of the Virginia Military Institute Keydets, Mr. Jim Gibson. How you doing, Jim? What's going on, and what's going on through this whole crazy quarantine?
Yeah, I'm doing well. First off, thanks for thinking of VMI and having us on here, and just thanks for doing this. I think, it's a great thing for Virginia wrestling and, you guys as far as an organization, and then, all the colleges as well that are involved, and, just anything that can promote, the sport of wrestling in general, and Virginia wrestling is a great thing, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you. You just completed your second full year as being the head coach there in Lexington. Obviously, you have a wealth of experience, Bucknell and Clarion and wrestling under Coach Flynn in Edinburgh. Tell me a little bit about your vision for all that you bring to VMI, your vision for the program.
Sure. Well, I think to start, I don't know if this is a well-known thing, but, VMI has some pretty strong history and some pretty strong wrestling tradition. I mean, they've had wrestling here since the 1920s. They've had over 100 and some individual SoCon champs. So I think part of it is just, the restoration of the program and bringing that history and tradition, back to VMI wrestling and making it a premier sport here at the Institute. And then obviously, developing good leaders. I mean, that's what VMI is known for. And we want to be a part of that process and, win wrestling matches. But on the other end, make sure we're producing great young men that are going to go out and, be great members of society and provide that leadership that, VMI is known for.
Awesome. And so, when we're looking at creating a culture for your program, a lot of it's based on the culture of the institution. When you're looking at kids that are coming into your program or kids that you're recruiting, are there some specific qualities that you're really targeting?
Yeah, definitely. I think the first is, wanting to live that sort of non-traditional college lifestyle, right? It's got to be a big piece of it. When you're looking at VMI or you decide to make the decision to attend VMI, you're not going to live the same lifestyle that you're going to live at a traditional college. You have to do a lot of, the military aspect of things. Not that it's a requirement after graduation. You don't have to go into the military when you're done. That's a pretty unique thing about VMI is you have that option upon graduation of, directly commissioning, right into any branch of the service, or, you can graduate and get your diploma and move into the public sector and get a regular job. So that's, I think, another kind of unique thing. But, as far as that non-traditional, the kids have to be willing to, come in here and live that lifestyle. And then the other thing is, I want guys to take wrestling serious, right? As a part of VMI or as a cadet at VMI, you're pulled in a lot of different areas. You have to deal with the military aspect. You have high-level academics. And then you add on top of that, a high-level wrestling experience and, the expectation that we put on our guys. So, I want guys that have taken wrestling serious throughout their high school career and want to come in and do the same and, want to do it 10 and a half, 11 months out of the year and make that commitment. And, because that's what it takes, right? To be successful at this level, of wrestling, it's got to be a year-round commitment. What are you willing to do in the months of April, May, June, July, August, September, maybe when everyone's not doing the same thing? It's one of those things I tell our guys all the time that, from August to March, a lot of teams out there, everyone's training, right? Everyone's getting up in the morning and lifting weights. Everyone's practicing in the afternoon, but not everyone is getting up on July 4th, maybe when you don't have to, and getting a drill in or, going for a 4 or 5 mile run and getting some work in. Those are the times where you can, catch your opponents, maybe some guys that you might be a little bit behind, or separate yourself from guys that you might be ahead of a little bit. And those are the months that matter. So, again, I want guys that want to come in here and take wrestling serious and do it year round and make it a priority for themselves.
So you were a longtime assistant, I know, at Clarion, and I know you did amazing things at Bucknell as well. What have been some of your challenges moving into the head coaching role that maybe you didn't have as an assistant?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is, and this is kind of a given, all the fingers are pointed at you, right? Whether you do a good job, whether you're winning, whether you're losing or you lose a match, maybe you thought you were supposed to win or, something's not working out or whatever the case is, the finger's always pointed at the guy in charge. And, but that's to be expected, and that's what you want, right? As a head coach, I want that responsibility, and I want to have that kind of extreme ownership, right? And I try to give that to, everyone on the team, right? If something's not going right, or, we have a bad match, or we need to develop more, or whatever the case is, if everyone takes personal responsibility in that, then we're going to grow as an organization. So yeah, ultimately the responsibility does fall on me because I'm leading the ship and leading the show. But, I want everyone to have that sort of same feeling to where, if something's not going right, everyone needs to take responsibility. And that's kind of what I try to, portray onto my staff and my guys is, hey, if we're all taking responsibility, then we're eventually things are gonna, move in the right direction, and we're gonna have a successful program in more ways than just one.
That's amazing. And I really, I see great things coming from your program. What are you really excited about moving forward? And I know that, you've had some serious peaks and a few valleys going through in these last 2 years, but moving forward, what are some things that are just really getting you ready?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things. One is the process. You got to love the process. And, I think as a coach or, any leader, right, you always think you can go in and do it faster than kind of you expect, right? You're like, man, I can go in, I can turn this thing around right away. But, you hit roadblocks and you hit, bumps in the road, and you have to, deal with the adversity, and you go through, like you're saying, peaks and valleys a little bit. And, that's something I talk to our guys a lot about too is, when you're in the valley, it's my job. I'm going to, pat you on the back when you do a good job. But when you needed point in the right direction, I'm sort of going to kick you in the butt and get you going a little bit. And that's the exciting thing for me is just that process and learning how to overcome adversity as a coach, and learning how to, teach my guys to overcome adversity, and, keeping everyone kind of in that same mindset and direction, and then our guys, I'm really excited about the young guys that we have right now. I'm excited about our class coming in next year. So, we're going to be a team full of freshmen and sophomores, essentially. I think I maybe have, at this point, maybe 5 upperclassmen that'll be coming back on the team. So just got a lot of young guys, and really looking forward to that process and the relationship, right? When you're in those moments of adversity and in those valleys, you really learn, who you are as a person and who you have on your team, and just developing that bond. There's nothing like the sport of wrestling, and nothing like adversity that brings people together. Look at the situation we're in right now. It's kind of a funny thing, right? But I've never spent so much time with my wife probably in 20 years, where, we were high school sweethearts. We've been together since we were 15 years old. So, it's been a long time, and we're still pretty young. But even to this day, it's, we're spending a lot of time together. And not that it's adversity or a challenge, but you just learn, you learn and grow even more when you're put in a tough situation like this, like this pandemic that we're in now. And, hopefully that you just come out of it, better than you went in. And that has to do, relay that right back into wrestling and in those tough times, those tough moments, because there's nothing like this sport, right? When you're down, it kicks you even harder, and that's the beauty about it, I think, is what it teaches you and how it teaches you to deal with adversity. That's the biggest thing for me.
Speaking of that, is your honey-do list? Have you crossed off some things? I know I haven't been at my house forever. My wife has a list for me, and I just find interviews.
We're plugging away, that's for sure. We got a lot of stuff going on outside. I kind of live out in the mountains a little bit, so we got a little bit of room and space outside. So we do a lot of stuff outside, and just trying to enjoy getting some stuff done.
Yeah, Lexington is just it's beautiful there, and I know right across the street you have a Division III program at Washington Lee. Are you guys able to collaborate at all? I know that it's a completely different campus, but are you able to do anything?
Yeah, we connect with those guys a little bit. I've gotten to know the coaches over there, Coach Shear and Radsky. They're great guys, and we do a lot of stuff together. Nathan and I think have become pretty close. Our families. He's got 2 young boys. So I have a 6-year-old, and they kind of hang out, getting into wrestling a little bit, and trying to navigate that whole scene as that youth wrestling stuff too. It's challenging when you got a boy that wants to do it, and even though he's still pretty young, so we're just trying to take it easy and trying to find that right balance of getting involved, but obviously not taking it too serious for him right now at 6 years old.
and that really brings me to my next question. So, I'm a high school coach, and I spend a lot of time in youth and high school wrestling. And I've never been a college coach. What are some things that we can be doing as a community to better VMI in the Virginia community? What are some things that we could be doing to really affect you and help you?
Yeah, I think just continuing to build that relationship. I think that's one of the most important things is, we want to have a good relationship with, everyone out there in the state so that, we can help each other out and grow wrestling. That's a thing in the area too here. I'm just trying to be as supportive within the community. There's some small wrestling organizations out here, and ultimately the stronger that the, Rockbridge area, wrestling is, and the stronger that Virginia wrestling is, the more it's going to benefit us, whether it be from a recruiting aspect, whether it be from a fan base aspect, or just overall support and knowledge of VMI. I think that's for us individually. I think that's probably the one thing I would say, that we need or we could use help with is just getting the knowledge out there about VMI, right? Just because it is such a unique place, and there's some things out there that I think people could want to know and need to learn. And I think that's where like someone like you can come in, man, just help us out and give people the knowledge about VMI. And anytime that there's someone out there that you think's a good fit, just throw them our way.
We'll definitely do that, and that's kind of the whole reason we're doing these quarantine conversations. Spurred on from USA Wrestling doing a few, and with some of the challenges that have been going on in Virginia over these last couple of weeks, I wanted to make sure that we did showcase the Virginia college programs. Speaking of that, I know that VMI is predominantly male, and so when we're looking at the Title IX things, we're not having to deal as much with the compliance. But what are some things that you're doing within your community with your athletic director, the president of the school, with the different people? And I know the community is very tight at VMI. Some things that you're doing to get them involved in your program.
It's kind of a weird thing, right? Because that was a big new thing for me when I first got here, was just the amount of access or time that I have with our guys, right? At a typical school like a Bucknell or Clarion, places I've been before, there's times throughout the day where you have athletes coming in and popping into the office and hanging out and talking for 15, 20 minutes in between class, or just spending some extra time together outside of practice and kind of outside of wrestling. And that can be tough here because they're pulled in a lot of different directions, and there's every moment of their day is pretty much accounted for. They have not a lot of free time, and they at least know what they're supposed to be doing and where they're supposed to be at pretty much every moment of the day. So I think that's, getting back to your question a little bit, is just getting us out there and being visible, right? We're in preseason and doing a lot of running, a lot of lifting, some conditioning outside on the track. Maybe we get up on top of post a little bit, kind of up on, they call it the hill here, get it up on the hill around the barracks, and just being as visible as possible, so that the upper management, the upper administration of VMI, and the other cadets kind of see what these guys are going through, right? Because obviously it's a challenging place, and a lot of the other cadets are doing a lot of tough things, as well with that non-traditional thing. But I think our wrestlers have to take another step forward. I kind of talk to them as they have to be willing, and I talk to our recruits about this too, where if you decide to come to VMI, you have to be willing to sort of walk the road that's less traveled, right? And you're not like every other student across the country. Just because you decide to go to VMI, you've already separated yourself and made yourself elite just based on that. And then you add in, Division I athletics, so you're even a little bit more elite than everyone else, at VMI. But then I think you add in Division I wrestling, and I think you're even a little bit more elite than all the other athletes, just because of, the lifestyle aspect of wrestling. And what it takes to be successful. It's got to be a 24/7 commitment. You can go to the cafeteria, the day before a basketball game, and I'm obviously not talking bad about the sports or anything, but you can go and eat a couple slices of pizza and have a glass of Mountain Dew maybe the night before a basketball game, and probably still go play a pretty good game of basketball, right? You can't do that in wrestling. You have to be willing to make those sacrifices and surrenders, in a tough spot, like sitting in the cafeteria, or maybe you have a friend that's, kind of saying, hey, let's go do this or let's go do that. And it takes the respected guy to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to stay in and I'm going to get some extra sleep so I can get up and get another workout in the morning, or, I'm going to stay in so I can turn the page in the book, or whatever the case might be. And, in that moment, it's tough to make that choice, right? When you're being kind of peer pressured and you got some friends or maybe a teammate that's, trying to pull you in that different direction. You got to put your foot down and, make that tough decision in the moment and walk that road less traveled. So it's tough, but that's the rewarding part about it too. That's why wrestling is so rewarding, is because it does take all those commitments and all that extra tough choices.
Well,
I know we got kind of off track there. I'm sorry a little bit, but
off track is good. This is what the conversation is all about. It's definitely an organic thing, and you're absolutely right. I think you're the right man for that job, and obviously we had a relationship before you got the job there, and I just appreciate all the great things that you're doing for the institution. You got anything else for us? Anything that you want to share? Anything pertinent moving forward?
Not really. I just want to wish everyone well throughout this situation we're dealing with out here, and just stay safe. And we got brighter times ahead. I'm sure of it. And I'm a pretty positive guy. I'm always trying to find the positive light in things, and we'll get through it as an organization, with VMI, and we'll get through it as a society and community out there. And with wrestling and all of it, we'll get through. The times will be bright again, and just looking forward to it. Just keeping trying to stay work and keep VMI, keep the ship moving in the right direction, and we'll get through it, and we'll be better off. Trying to the adversity, right? You'll be better off for it. I know it's tough going through this situation for everyone, but you got to find something good about it and learn from it and grow from it. Well,
we wish you the best, and I wish your family the best. Having dad at home sometimes and husband at home when they're not used to it, it can change the whole dynamics of the household. But I think I'll be better for it, and I look forward to watching you guys grow, and I wish the best for the program in Lexington. So thanks again, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.